Thank you. Mr. Van Prague?
Thank you. Thank you for coming. The 2015 Halifax International Security Forum met this weekend in the shadow of a number of tragic world events. The downing of the Russian Metro jetliner over Sinai, bombings in Beirut and Ankara, as well as the attacks in Mali, and of course Paris just last week. Over 300 delegates from over 60 countries focused in on these events and many others, including taking the fight to Islamic State, both on the ground and on the web and in their bank accounts, confronting China's growing assertiveness and even aggressiveness, and the urgent need for the world to accept its collective responsibility to welcome the refugees escaping from conflict zones like Syria. We didn't come up with all the answers. That's not the purpose of Halifax International Security Forum. We generated innovative ideas that now will lead to better answers than we had before meeting here this weekend. That is why Halifax International Security Forum is indispensable. It gives leaders from around the world the opportunity to come together in thoughtful and provocative discussions about the shared need to promote global security and democracy. We're here to listen to each other. I would like to thank all of our panelists, participants, for their important contributions to this year's forum. Thank you to the Government of Canada, the Department of National Defence, the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, ACOA, for their support, and to our partners from the private sector, especially the Halifax Canada Club. I would particularly like to thank Minister Sajjan for his leadership and for being such an active participant in our discussions and this meeting this weekend. He is a credit not only to the Government of Canada, but to all Canadians, and I am very proud to call him my new friend. We are proud to have him as such a strong supporter of the Halifax International Security Forum and for being this year's host. Minister Sajjan.
Great, thank you, Peter. As Peter has outlined, the complexities of our world, the challenges that we face. We need to keep in mind that we do not fight alone, and our history has proven that. And so the solutions to the problem will not be found not by one person or one country. And that's what this forum has represented. As I stated earlier, bringing world leaders together from government, from the military, from business, to have a stimulating conversation on tough subjects, to be controversial as well. Because the answer is going to be found with somebody. And that person may not even know that they have the answers, but when you talk about the problems together, we will find the solution. And that's what this forum represents. And so, Peter, I want to thank you and your team for the vision in creating this, a world-class conversation. That's what this is about. And I look forward to supporting you and your vision and the conference for next year. I heard the date is already set, and I look forward to continue this. And this conversation is not going to end. This conversation is just starting. This conversation is going to continue as we move forward, as the generals meet, as I move forward in my meetings with NATO and my the coalition partners. This is just the starting point, and this is what we need to continue, because as we converse more, we're going to find the solutions together. So thank you once again, Peter.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you. We'll now open the floor for questions. Please identify your agency when asking your question and address either participants or both.
Chris Micah from Rabble.ca.
Yes.
Minister Sajjan, during this forum there's been considerable discussion about terrorism and related security issues and Canada's place in that security environment. Canada, however, is a small country in terms of its population, size of its military and budgets, certainly in comparison with some of our neighbors and allies, but a big country when it comes to our landmass, coastlines, and territorial waters, and a country with a big reputation since the time of Prime Minister Lester Pearson in terms of peacekeeping, peacemaking, and disaster relief. I'm interested in how you see building the future capacity of the Canadian military in terms of addressing disaster relief, humanitarian missions, smuggling of humans and contraband, Command, Arctic Patrol, and other elements of personal and environmental security of concern and importance to Canadians and the international community?
You brought up a lot of great points there. With regards to the size of the country and the size of our military, history has shown us that from World War I, World War II, and most recently in Afghanistan, that it's not the number of troops that you contribute, it's the impact on the ground that matters. And our history has shown that. And I've been very proud to be part of one of those campaigns. And when you look at the threats that Canada faces as well, we have a phenomenal security apparatus from the military, but also with our security partners. And it's how we connect those dots is going to be the key, that we stay ahead and find the different nexus between the criminality, terrorism, the social issues as well, and get better at finding the indicators early on so we can deal with the threat when it's at its infancy. That's how we're going to be able to move forward, and Canada is very good at that.
Back here.
Afternoon, Minister. Brett Ruskin, CBC News. Question about CF-18s. Did the military or yourself come under any pressure throughout this conference to continue the aerial strikes over Syria? And if so, are we still as confident with our decision to cease those?
Well, when we look at our contribution for the airstrikes, we've been doing it for a year, and we should be very proud of our men and women who have been conducting those. The conversation that we've been having has been wider context, because we're talking about one tool in the fight. This forum has been about was looking at the greater picture and how do we look at bringing the fight, and there's many ways to do that. And that's one thing in my conversations with General Allen, the Deputy Secretary of Defense, and my other counterparts as well, is how do we look at this holistically? And as we're talking about, the problem is not one set. And if we go down that path, we're not going to find that solution. And history has shown that security threats can also be dealt in different ways. But that does not mean you do not stop the fight. We are going to be taking the fight to ISIS. And how we do it, we work as part of a team. We don't work alone. And that's, as this forum is representative of, we are part of a team, and a team works together, and everybody has a role to play in the success moving forward.
Right up the front here.
Mr. Minister, Ron Shaw from CTV News, Atlantic.
I have two questions. The first one is about the Turkish airliner that spent some extra time, was diverted here. Mm-hmm. Is this something that represents a serious threat, or is it to our transportation system, or is it something that was merely a prank?
I think one thing we should also be proud of is that Halifax here plays an important role into that, and that goes into our collaboration. When a threat is found, we can deal with it very quickly. And we need to always be mindful in how we look at the different indicators in the early warning system, but this proves how well we can actually work together.
Right at the back.
Minister, going off of Ron's questions, this is the third bomb threat in about 5 days in Halifax. Mm-hmm. Given all of the different things going on internationally with our security environment, we see the attacks in Beirut, Paris, Brussels is under a lockdown. What should Canadians be making of this?
For Canadians, is that we should always remain vigilant. Even though we have a geographic separation from some of the issues going on right now, we need to remain vigilant. We need to trust in our security forces, from the police all the way to the military, and trust in our system to be able to manage the level of threats, and we are doing that on a daily basis.
We're at a second round now, right at the front.
Yes, my second question is about. My second question is about one of the plenary sessions this morning about high tech and bioterror, etc. Mm-hmm. What role will robotic warriors, autonomous ones in particular, have in the Canadian Armed Forces in the future? And do these things fit in with Canadian values considering the potential for civilian tragedies?
I think we had a great stimulating conversation on that today, and this is the start. Technology always, we need to innovate. We need to stay current with the future threats, and our military will always do so. We have a very robust defense and research facility to do so. But we have to be always mindful of making sure that when it comes to our individuals, the Canadians, who are putting on the uniform or making the decisions, that they're going to have the right training to do so. And so as we move forward, we have to make sure that the legislation stays current with this. But these conversations are very early right now. But with the points that you brought up is something that we're going to have to be keeping in mind as we move forward on this.
Justin and then Steve.
You're going to get two right now.
Oh, okay, that's too many. I have enough microphones. Minister, evidently the Canadian Security Establishment, CSE, usually used for cyber defense, occasionally used to collect intelligence. But in theory, it could be used offensively. And a big thing about this weekend was the Islamic State's ability to radicalize people online. Can you envision a scenario where Canada would play a role in taking out either actual physical computer assets or accounts online or what have you? Because we've already seen Anonymous doing a lot of the work that maybe government should have been doing in the first place. So is there a role there for Canada to play?
I don't actually talk about our capabilities, but we do need to be mindful of the evolving threat. And what does it mean to us, and how can we counter it? So absolutely, we need to be mindful of making sure that we have various options. But that all depends on how that threat evolves. But we have to make sure that we are current to it. And this is where technology plays a big picture into this. Thank you.
Steve?
Minister Steve Chase, Globe Mail. You've been asked about stopping the airstrikes repeatedly over the last couple of weeks, and so has your other members of your government. There's two answers given. One is, well, we promised it, and secondly, that there are other tools that can be used to fight ISIS. But many of your allies are doing both. They're bombing and they're training. Is there any justification for stopping airstrikes beyond, well, we promised it? What's wrong with airstrikes? And why don't you continue it when your allies are doing both, given Paris, Beirut, Turkey, Sinai, etc.?
Now, Steve, I've personally been involved with how airstrikes are used, and they could be and the benefits of it. But I have to remind everybody that this is one tool in the fight. We do not work alone. We work as part of a coalition. And myself and the government feels to contribute to this fight, we need to focus on the training. If we do not get that piece right, it does not matter where one bomb drops. We need to be able to coordinate all that effort and the other pieces that are also involved. And I just cautious everybody is bringing that conversation back down to as tragic as those events are. The solution is not based on one tool. The solution is going to be based on our efforts working as a coalition with all the tools together. And when Canada brings our package forward in terms of, not just in terms of training, we also have to look at the humanitarian side of things. We have to look at how we're going to look at the governance piece to this, and then how we're going to be taking that fight to ISIS, because the boots on the ground that will do so.
Can I just ask you, I guess my point is I still don't understand the rationale for stopping airstrikes. What's wrong with that tool?
Well, one is, as part of the coalition, the airstrikes are not stopping.
At the back on the right, and then on the left.
Hi, apologies for not introducing last time. Marika Walsh, Global News. Yesterday at the congressional press conference with the 3 senators, they spoke about coordinating security screening for Syrian refugees with Canada so that there wouldn't be concerns with people traveling between the U.S. and Canada. What can you tell us about that? Does that happen, and to what extent does it happen? And can you answer in English and French, please?
Regrettably, I am still working on my French, so.
Marika, we have simultaneous translation as well.
But in terms of working with our U.S. allies on this, the public safety minister has had many conversations to making sure that the collaboration is done in a manner that gives confidence not only for Canadians but also to the U.S. as well.
So is it happening though, or sorry, can you just clarify for me, is it happening, or are you just keeping each
Well,
other
this is an answer for the
abreast?
public safety minister, but from the mechanism is there for it, yes.
Yeah. Right here, and then one final question right there.
Minister, again, Brett Ruskin, CBC News. I'm being asked to ask you about, slight change of pace, the shipbuilding contract involving the Davie Shipyard and the Irving Shipyard, with reports saying that letters have been sent to certain cabinet ministers in which the Irving Shipbuilding Company would have been meddling in that contracting process. Did you receive, or did your office receive, any letters from Irving Shipbuilding?
Well, first of all, when it comes to conversations in the cabinet, you know, it is confidential. However, when we look at the overall strategy, how we want to move forward as a government, we want to make sure that the Navy is well equipped and well poised for and how it's going to serve Canada as we move forward. The Navy does need a lot more support, and we're working on a plan that's not just going to provide the right capability, but we're going to do it in a manner that's actually going to be sustainable as well.
Right here, and final question there.
Yes, Mr. Beach Kane, University of King's College. I know you touched upon cyber terrorism before, and you said we need to stay current.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I know you touched upon cyber terrorism before, and you said we needed to stay current. I think with Anonymous taking out Twitter accounts, I think they've taken out 20,000 as of today. I was wondering, what is your opinion on whether it's more effective to do what these groups are doing, like Anonymous, taking down Twitter accounts or letting them permeate the internet to use them for gathering intel? Because I think that's the debate that's going to grow out of this.
With regards to Anonymous, I can't really give an answer to the effectiveness because I can't measure that, right? So it's only from what we're getting from the news. But in terms of what we need to do, yes, we need to evolve and to look at those threats, and we are looking at those type of threats.
What do you think is a better strategy? Taking down accounts or letting them permeate?
Again, there's no easy answer to that. It's actually depending on a certain parameters to that situation. I can give you actually multiple answers to that.
Yeah. Right here, and then we're finished.
Hi, Ben Cousins, Canadian Press. Given the Liberals' decision to review the interim supply contract,
Sorry, the what?
the supply ship contract,
Yes.
going back to that, is the plan now for a full competition for the interim capability?
We are committed to making sure that the capability, not only as we grow for the Navy ship, our ships, the supply system for the Navy is probably one of the most critical pieces to it. And we have a program in place with the joint supply ships. We do have a capability gap that we do need to fill, and we're looking at many different options on how we're going to move forward on that.
So should the Irvings and C-SPAN be allowed to tie up what seems to be an essential military capability?
Right now, we're looking at in terms of their responsibility as part of the National Shipbuilding Program, and how we move forward. This will be a government decision.
Great. Thank you very much for coming, everybody.
Okay, great. Thank you.